Welcome to Rewatch and Rank. On this channel, we rewatch older TV shows, provide a summary and opinion on the episode before ranking each episode against each other. And today's episode is Grey's Anatomy, Season 4, Episode 14, Losing My Mind. Episode in a nutshell is a brief reminder of what happens in the episode. So, as always, we'll start with each of the patients. First patient, Richard's former mentor and a doctor who is highly respected, comes in needing open heart surgery, but his colleagues won't work on him because he has some potential complications, and nobody wants to be the surgeon that potentially could have killed him. And so even Han is very reluctant to do the surgery, but he specifically goes to Richard because he was his mentor. He knows Richard's not going to be able to say no to him because he made Richard's career. And Han eventually does reluctantly agree to do the surgery, and it turns out she does so successfully, so instead of ruining her reputation, she'll likely get a boost in her reputation going forward. Then we have another trial patient. In this case, the trial patient is Greta, and she's basically somebody who spent most of her life single. She went on a cruise before the series, met a man, and fell in love with him. And now she's questioning whether she wants to be in the trial because she wants to maybe spend the next month she has with the man that she ended up with, rather than risking the surgery and potentially dying at that time. However, her sister basically tells them that when her symptoms started is when this guy showed up. No one's met him. There's no pictures. As far as everyone else is concerned, he doesn't exist. And Derek is willing to give benefit of the doubt. Meredith immediately accepts that a lover like him couldn't exist because there was this whole Cinderella meeting with her losing a shoe and things. And him, like, princess carrying her to a room when she blacked out for the first time on the cruise, and so on and so forth. So it was a very unbelievable type story, kind of like one of those 1 in a million meet cutes. And so Derek waits until 3 o'clock, which is the longest they can wait because the viruses that they use to inject the tumor can only survive that long. And when that comes around, even he accepts that this man probably doesn't exist, as he's still not there. So he goes in, tells Greta that most likely her tumor made this guy up, and the tumor, because of where it is placed, is able to do that. And so she has a breakdown believing that the person that she had fallen in love with was a figment of her imagination, agrees to the surgery, and during the surgery, which is mostly successful, her brain ends up swelling, so she ends up in a coma, only for them to be informed that the man, Andre, actually existed, arrived at the hospital, and he confirms that the stories that she was telling were real. They were in love, and he hopes that she'll wake up because from their first meeting, it was like a fairy tale, and in the fairy tales, they always wake up. And it's a very heartbreaking moment that he arrived just a little bit too late, and because nobody believed her, nobody waited. Though, to be fair, they weren't really able to wait any longer because of the fact that the viruses would become inert after a certain amount of time had passed. Um, but this situation also, well, gives Meredith a bit of a wake-up call. Last patient is Rebecca's still there. She comes in wanting to see Sloane to get a boob job, and Izzy finally tells her that she's not pregnant, but Rebecca confirms that she is pregnant and says that she'd always wanted a baby, which Izzy then has to remind her she already has one, which at first confuses Rebecca. Then when they basically show her the ultrasound that's empty, she then starts crying, saying she lost the baby, even though she was never pregnant to begin with, which is a sign of hysterical pregnancy. Even when she's talking to Sloane, the reason she wants the job, like the boob job, is because she doesn't believe her face and her body match properly, which he thinks could be some sort of like stress disorder due to the fact that she needed such extensive reconstructive surgery. But basically, she's exhibiting some strange behavior that's putting alarm bells off in everybody's heads except Alex's, because Alex is a little bit blind. And he's already made so many changes for her in his life that I guess he's kind of dug his heels in. And then we have some various small dramas throughout the episode. Richard and Adele in the last episode slept together. She hadn't called him back, but he'd called her. But after George drafts an email to her, she sends back a winky face, which is a style of flirting. Therefore, Richard seems content with that fact, though most of the episode he is stressing about the lack of of response from Adele. Christina's still in her dark place. She even gives up the heart surgery, content to do charts instead, which is very unlike her. Derek did not call Rose back, probably feeling a little bit guilty about the fact that he was thinking about Meredith. And then when she confronts him about it at the end of the episode, he just says he's already done complicated, he's not looking for complicated, can't they just have fun and be happy? And she seemingly agrees to that because they do leave hand in hand. George has his first day as the chief's intern, or maybe not his first day, but he's in that role now, actively pursuing it. Then we have Lexi, who's basically told by Christina that Meredith hates her. Then she confronts Meredith, saying that she forgives her for being so mean to her and letting her friend be mean to her too. Meredith is still in therapy, and she wants to quit the therapy, claiming to fire her therapist, but the therapist doesn't let her pretend she's firing her. She keeps telling her she's quitting. But over the course of what happens in the episode, she arrives at the appointment and basically says, "You think I'm broken? Fix me," while she's crying. So it seems she's going to take the therapy a little bit more seriously, hopefully. Um, Callie's trying to get Sloane to continue sleeping with her casually. He says he's turning over a new leaf and wants something more serious. She, of course, is not interested in that. Then there's this whole running joke throughout the episode about having a threesome with Callie, Han, and Sloane, which ultimately does not happen, but it does lead to Han kissing Callie in the elevator in front of Sloane. So that was a bit of shock drama in the episode. And I think that about covers it for what happened in this episode. So now that we've been reminded what happened, it's time to rank the episode, first on our mostly objective ranking list, followed by the personal ranking list. And we have our single episode supporting character introductions, which we have Dr. Walter Tapley, which is Richard's former mentor, Greta, the brain patient, and then Andre Barrett, who ends up being her lover, ends up being real, though everybody thinks he's not real, but comes too late to say his final goodbyes to her before she goes into a coma. A sad ending. Then we have the supporting relationship development. Han kisses Callie. Obviously, this has been foreshadowed quite extensively. Um, so it's shocking it happened because of Callie's resistance, and Callie, upon even the suggestion, started sleeping with Sloane excessively, and that's because she was running from the truth. But she seems to have some sort of awakening from this kiss because she is very dazed leaving the elevator. It's worth 2 points. Multi-season supporting character development, Rebecca exhibiting her strange behaviors, indicating that there may be something more going on with her than just a hysterical pregnancy or some stress. And all of that brings us up to 8 points. But we did have some negatives. First, we have we had supporting relationship regression breakups, Adele not calling Richard after the night they spent together was minus 2 points. Yes, she sends a winky face, and George interprets that as flirting, though Richard doesn't even understand what she's sending. But that's way at the end of the episode. The majority of the episode, his main conflict was the fact that she wasn't calling him back and he was panicking about it, so that's why I took the points for it. And then Derek not calling Rose back after they were intimate together. And again, she spends the episode trying to talk to him. He kind of keeps brushing her off, claiming it's just stress from the patients and the fact that the trial patients aren't working. But by the end of the episode, like I said, she confronts him about it, is pretty much saying she's done with it, except for the fact that then he talks her around and they leave the hospital together. But I still considered it a regression because of the fact that it goes the entire episode, and that's the main conflict again with that couple. Um, Ultimately, that leaves us with 4 out of 10. And that brings our mostly objective ranking list to, in first, A Change is Gonna Come, Physical Attraction, Chemical Reaction, Where the Wild Things Are, The Becoming, Kung Fu Fighting, Piece of My Heart, Love/Addiction, Haunt You Every Day, Forever Young, Let the Truth Sting, Lay Your Hands on Me, and this episode is 12th place, Losing My Mind, followed by Crash Into Me and The Heart of the Matter. I'm gonna be completely honest, this episode really didn't mean much to me, honestly. I thought the story with Greta and finding her love was really sweet, except it had a tragic ending, and I'm not a fan of tragedy, to be honest. I never watch tragedy. If I know going in it's a tragedy, I will not watch it because I like a happy ending. I didn't get that here, so while I found the entire love story sweet, it wasn't for me. Meredith and Christina are both going off the rails, and Meredith's therapy, it seems like she's going to start taking it seriously, but throughout most of the episode, I'm like, therapists typically will tell you things you don't want to hear because their whole purpose is to get you to acknowledge those truths so that you can deal with them and move on from them, and they can give you the tools to do so. So if you're not prepared for that, then why are you even starting therapy in the first place? And even from like the first time the therapy was introduced, I was like, she's not really cooperating. What is even the point? Though by the end of the episode, that did change. My mind did change a little bit on that one, but again, like most of the episode, it wasn't there. Rebecca, I was over her ages ago. I don't know why they keep dragging her about, but I think the next episode, like the double episode that's coming up, is her final episode in the series, so the end is near. Um, Richard and Adele, again, I think they're a nice married couple, but I don't really feel anything about that relationship specifically. Don't really care about Callie and Sloane and Han's thing. George is just running around frazzled, but he is happy that he gets an attaboy because he does a good job, though he does acknowledge that he hasn't really been in an OR in a long time. There's that minor Lexi Meredith conflict, but like most of the dramas here are very slow or like very small dramas. The patients, one of which was compelling, ended in tragedy, which wasn't for me. So I kind of felt overall like I wasn't really into this episode. I do acknowledge, though, that it probably is building up to. Um, See, the next episode's a double episode, so a two-parter. Um, so I think this episode is kind of keeping the drama out of it in order to have a big Yahoo moment in the next episode. You know, like that's when all the dramas will come to a head, the realizations will be had, so on, so forth, all of that. So I can understand the purpose of leaving this one a little bit quieter with the drama and the patience. But again, like it just honestly was a bit boring, didn't really speak to me, and so I just gave it a 3 because it did have some good qualities, but overall, not even like a meh. It's a little bit more like sound, you know, just not great. So that brings my personal ranking to, in first, Where the Wild Things Are, Physical Attraction, Chemical Reaction, Piece of My Heart, A Change is Gonna Come, Haunt You Every Day, The Becoming, Love/Addiction, Forever Young, Lay Your Hands on Me, Let the Truth Sting, Kung Fu Fighting, Crash Into Me, The Heart of the Matter, and this episode is currently in last place, Losing My Mind in 14th. And that brings us to the series ranking so far. On our mostly objective ranking, we have season 1 in first, followed by season 2, then season 3. and season 4 has a score of 88 out of 150. Meanwhile, on the personal ranking, it's the opposite, with season 3 in first place, followed by season 2, then season 1. And season 4 so far has a score of 96 out of 150. But with that, we have now rewatched and ranked Grey's Anatomy season 4, episode 14, Losing My Mind. Like and subscribe if you'd like to, and I'll see you in the next episode.